I wanted to ask you about sort of the state of ad tech as we've known it, as you've known it, in terms of privacy, in terms of consumer concerns, government regulation, the death of the cookie, the growth of first-party data. Just give us your view on sort of where things stand in terms of digital media.
So, consumer concerns first, because that's the most important. And it doesn't actually appear that there are that many real consumer concerns. Now, maybe that's because of a lack of consumer understanding, but there's not that many people that can point to harm to themselves as a result of the use of digital data in the industry. And whilst they understand abstractly the idea of election interference and so on and so forth, when they think about it about themselves, there's not that many people that have suffered from identity theft and not that many people that have been persecuted because of privacy issues. So the consumer hasn't voted yet, which is why YouTube's numbers are still so enormous and Facebook's numbers are still so important. Government, on the other hand, seems to be now bent on one of two courses or a combination, which is work out how to regulate them, and whilst you're working out, make structures that you can find them under and sort of almost change the taxation policy for big technology companies. And we've seen it with Google, with antitrust and various other issues in Europe, and we've seen it with Facebook, with the FTC here. And there's now a run rate of something approaching $20 billion of fines in the tech industry. Now, to be fair, you need to see that in context, and JP Morgan Chase still hold the record for the biggest fine in the US, which was $14 billion for their work during the financial crisis. So all of this has a context. Now, regulators are struggling, and they're struggling because it's very difficult to regulate businesses that got where they are because consumers chose them. And consumers chose them because the utility they created for the consumer in relation to the cost to the consumer, actual or perceived, was outstanding. And that's what grew Google and Facebook. And so people don't have to heft up copies of the Yellow Pages anymore because they have Google Search. That's value. There's people that don't buy navigation systems for their cars anymore because they can use Google Maps and Android Play or whatever in their cars to do that. There's no one rings up directory inquiries or information and pays $3.99 a minute for that. They do it in other ways. There's people that now make free video calls with WhatsApp calling that they couldn't do before. So people see the value exchange. That becomes very hard to regulate because if the consumer feels like you're taking something away from them, that never makes for good policy. To me, the most likely thing that's going to happen is that government is going to pursue what I think of as a laws of our land policy. So if we have a free speech rule in the United States that's different from the ones in Germany, that may be different from the one in Australia, that may be different from one in India, then the companies are going to be forced to geofence parts of their business, so they are forced to operate in areas that are compliant with national law. But of course, everyone, if you look hard enough, can see issues that relate to that, because if you go back a few years when the Arab Spring happened, everyone said it's great because the internet shines light into dark places, takes away the power from dictators and puts it back in the hands of the people, and now they're saying the exact reverse. And so we live forever in a world of swinging untold consequences.